You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Well, after a week-long hiatus for spring break, the LSU football team was back on the practice field on Tuesday. Media was allotted to watch about 20 minutes. They'll be back out there again Thursday with about 20 minutes of media availability. And then the spring game or spring practice, whatever they're going to call it now, will be Saturday. Remember, the Tigers do have two practices next week. Brian Kelly kind of shifted the schedule a little bit for that end. But of great note from Tuesday is that a very big returnee, both literally and figuratively. Tank Jacobian Guillory was at practice on Tuesday in pads. Now, he was not going through the contact portion of practice, but still almost 6 months to the day after Jacobian Guillory ruptured his Achilles in the second game of the season. It was September the 7th against Nichols. Almost 6 months to the day, he's out there in pads going through some light workouts, which was awesome to see. Remember, Jacobian Guillory was supposed to be your best defensive lineman a year ago. And when he got injured, it caused a domino effect throughout your defensive front. Gio Paez had to kick inside to play the zero technique. Paris Shan moved from end interior to tackle, so he had a 270-pound tackle. It forced Ahmad Bro, as a true freshman, to play a lot more reps as he was moving from end in high school to tackle in college. It was very unenviable, and he was a linchpin in the middle of your defense. So you have used the year to build up that position again with Bro and McKinley. You brought in Sadir Mitchell via the transfer portal. You signed 4 freshmen. You've got Sean Washington back as well, and now you're adding Gillery to the mix. This is fantastic. See, I'll tell you, for me, when I was thinking about this recovery, and usually an Achilles recovery, the timetable is projected to be about between 6 and 9 months. And we often see Achilles in basketball can be a devastating, sometimes career-ending injury because those guys rely so much on explosiveness and athleticism for jumping and running. But when you talk about a big 300-plus pound lineman that's using their Achilles and leaning and having other bodies leaning on them so much, I mean, you can understand the strain it's putting on that tendon. But I remember Sheldon Rankins with the New Orleans Saints. This isn't a college example, but it's the one that you may remember being from around here. In that 2018 playoff run, so this was January of 2019, in the divisional round, the Saints beat the Eagles. Then, of course, was the Nola no call. But in that game against the Eagles is when Rankins ruptured his Achilles. He was inactive for the first 3 games of the following season. Remember, that was January. He was inactive for the first 3 games, but he was back week 4, September the 29th, and he played 10 weeks and then got injured again later in the season, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, he recovered from the ruptured Achilles and was back in September from a January rupture. So all that to say, from September to September, you would anticipate Jacobian Guillory being full strength, like 100% ready to go for fall camp in July, and certainly ready to go, if not at the start of fall, in July, end of July, early August. You would certainly anticipate by the time you go play Clemson in September that Gillery should be, he'd be a year removed from the injury, be ready to go. But fantastic to see him out there today. Again, not doing any contact, but great to see Jacobian Guillory back out there. Now, the flip side of it is one of the guys I just mentioned, Sadir Mitchell, was seen kind of getting tangled up and kind of had to be helped off the field on Tuesday. You hope that's not serious. And I'll be very curious, Sadir Mitchell's role on this team, because one of the really interesting things is people always ask, when you go to practice, what do you see? It's interesting to me because Mitchell is one of those guys who at times, tipping the scales at 350 pounds, has looked unblockable. When they've run double team drills, 1 defensive lineman, 2 offensive linemen, he has successfully split double teams, and he has been downright, unblockable at times in those drills. But you look back at his past year at Texas, he played in just 6 games for Texas, had 36 snaps on the season, not 36 tackles. He had 36 snaps on the entire season. So that's a guy who was very little used playing for Bo Davis at Texas. Bo Davis thought enough of him, though, to bring him to Baton Rouge. Now, Bo Davis is with the Saints, but Mitchell's one of those guys who it'll be really interesting to see how he fits in. That defensive line group is it's so as disappointing as it is that Bo Davis left. There's a lot of reason for optimism with Kyle Williams and how he fits and what they're going to be trying to do, but also just the numbers. With Gillery coming back, which is great, Sadir Mitchell coming in, Bro and McKinley another year older, Sean Washington back for another season, another big body there. And then you got the 4 freshmen coming in with Zion Williams, Dylan Battle, Brandon Brown, and Walter Mathis. I mean, you finally have numbers and depth combined with young talent and veteran experienced players. And it's going to be fun, to watch that defensive line rotation. But great news today seeing Jacobian Guillory out there. The other observation from practice on Tuesday, I'll flip the line of scrimmage, is the offensive line rotation. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not overreacting to these offensive line rotations because, I think Brian Kelly has been very forthright in talking about this, that this is all written in sand. This is nothing hard and fast, and we shouldn't be making anything of it. And, I always say actions speak louder than words, and it actually does kind of shape to that because, they're doing the same thing in the secondary where there's just no real rhyme or reason to how they're lining up at corner or at safety. And I say no real rhyme or reason. Really, it's only say there's no consistency. It's like they're truly trying to get everybody reps. And that's one of the beauties of spring. You got 15 practices to give everybody reps, to give guys a look at different positions where they can take reps at those positions and the coaching staff can get looks at these guys in certain spots. So that's kind of what they're doing. But on the offensive line on Tuesday, the ones from left to right were Tyree Adams, Paul Mabenga, DJ Chester at center. Cohen Eccles was running first-team right guard. And then Weston Davis at right tackle. Your second line from left to right was Carius Kern, Ori Williams at left guard. Remember, that had been Solomon Thomas. Braylon Moore at center, Bo Bordelon at right guard, and then Josh Thompson, the Northwestern transfer, at right tackle. Now, we've also seen Thompson playing at guard. A few things. Number one, I think it's fascinating to see Cohen Eccles there playing first-team right guard. Again, it's probably just a situation where they're giving as many guys looks and opportunities in as many spots as possible. But Eccles is a very highly regarded player who's a natural center. But if Chester's still running at the first-team center, and you got Braylon Moore vying for that spot, trying to get Eccles involved and get him reps, he's getting looks at the ones at right guard right now. Also interesting that Solomon Thomas no longer in the 2 deep, that Ori Williams is in there at left guard. But the big ones are DJ Chester still holding down first-team centers. We all assume that's going to be Braylon Moore. But the other one is Josh Thompson. And again, he just showed up a week ago Saturday. So, because they're on the he was finishing out the semester at Northwestern. So I'm not going to overreact to him being here in such a short amount of time. But the thing that's worth watching for the remainder of spring, and certainly as they get to fall camp, is Josh Thompson playing tackle or guard. Because they would love for him to settle, and he played both at Northwestern. He played left tackle, and right guard. They would love for him to settle in at right guard. In a perfect world, he's a starter at guard. But that's only necessitated if your tackles can't win their jobs. But if Tyree Adams and Weston Davis hold down those jobs at tackle, awesome. That would be your best case scenario on the offensive line. So on one hand, it's encouraging to see Adams and Davis still running with the ones at tackle. The other part of it is I don't love seeing Josh Thompson at tackle just on its face. But again, it's probably an instance where they're just getting him and a lot of different guys reps at a lot of different spots. So Tigers will be back on the practice field Thursday. Media will only have about 20 minutes. They'll have player interviews after practice on Thursday. And then Saturday is the spring game, spring scrimmage, where it'll be open to the fans, all the autograph session and all that stuff. And we'll be there watching it in totality on Saturday in Tiger Stadium. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.